Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Nano. My name is Heather, and today I wanted to focus on nanotechnology in medical applications. Now, before I start that, I wanted to go over a comparison of different size ratios for you guys, just so that we're all on the same page as to how big nanotechnology actually is. Now, the first thing that I wanted to use the comparison is a city. A lot of us have been to a city, or at least seen them in pictures, and a city is miles, or kilometers in this case, across, and they're very big to us. And we as people are between 1 and 2 meters tall. Now, it's very easy for us to go through a city, and a bunch of people live in cities, millions. So, what's the size difference quantitatively? Well, we're actually about 3 orders of magnitude smaller than a city. And something in the medical world that we can compare this to is cells. Now, cells are on the micrometer scale. And just to give an example, red blood cells are between 4 and 8 micrometers across. And this can be compared to nanoparticles that are on the nanometer scale. Now, nanometers are actually 3 orders of magnitude lower than micrometers, which means that nanoparticles to cells is the same thing as people to cities. So whenever you're thinking about how small is a nanoparticle compared to the cells that we're dealing with, think of that comparison. If you want to go even further and compare a nanoparticle to something more tangible than a cell, you can compare it to a human hair. Now, a human hair is still on the order of micrometers, but it's a lot more of them than a cell. So, when you're thinking about a human looking at Tokyo, Boston, New York, Dubai, all at once, that's the same kind of comparison as a nanoparticle to a human hair. So the research that I wanted to talk to you about today is about magnetic nanoclusters helping the fight against breast cancer. Now, breast cancer hits home for a lot of people because their mother, their sister, or maybe even their friend are diagnosed with this disease, and there's a big fight in helping to cure this disease. And these nanoparticles are helping with that. Now, these nanoclusters are very tiny particles that are clumped together and are magnetic. And this magnetism is helpful in using them in MRI scans. Now, those of you that don't know, an MRI scan is basically a giant magnet that's used to help take pictures of the body on the inside and create almost a 3D image of what's going on inside you. So having these nanoparticles, these nanoclusters, show up on these MRI scans would be very helpful in detecting certain diseases, and in this case, breast cancer. Now, the problem with these nanoparticles is that they can't really find the cancer on their own. They have no way of distinguishing between healthy tissue and cancerous tissue, so they get confused and they can't actually help out in that way. And the second thing that's wrong with them is that they're actually hydrophobic, which means that they're not going to be used very well in water. And since we're 70% water, that's not going to go over very well. So we need a way to help these nanoparticles stay on a cancer cell long enough so that an MRI can take a picture of them to figure out where the cell actually is. And the way that we can do that is to use a protein called CD44 that's overexpressed on breast cancer cells. Now, this means that this protein is unique to this cancer cell, which means that it can be used to target the cancer. Now, in order to use this protein, you need to find another protein that matches it. If you're thinking about DNA, you have 2 sides. This CD44 is like one side of the DNA. You have to find its matching pair. Now, this research group has found that hyaluronan is a protein that counts as the matching pair. Now, this protein works in 3 different ways. Number 1, it protects the nanoclusters from the water in the body. Since these proteins are hydrophilic, which means that they like water, they're going to surround the nanoparticles in a sheath and protect them because they're hydrophobic. And with this, they can actually travel through the body readily. The second thing that they do is, obviously, they attach to the protein. And by attaching to this protein, they're able to hold the whole assembly, including the nanoparticles, onto the cancer cell so that they can be used to take a picture of them. And the third thing, which is kind of like a bonus, is that while they're being held there, they are actually inhibiting the cancer cell from growing because you have so many surrounding it, it has nowhere to grow, so it stops growth. So with this protein, you are able to give the nanoparticle time to stick next to the cancer, send the patient through an MRI scan, and you're able to use these magnetic nanoclusters to take a picture of the cancer. And this is great for doctors because then they'll know exactly where the cancer is, how big it is, and they can diagnose a patient a lot more accurately, especially in telling them how long they've had the disease and what they can do to fight it. So this is a great way that nanoparticles are helping the fight against cancer, and specifically breast cancer. This has been Let's Talk Nano, and thanks for watching.